I got a picture. Can I hit you?
Dad, isn't that, can you feel the heat, Dad?
Yeah, sure can.
Now he's just spraying gas.
Shooting napalm in particular, which is gasoline and more flammable than diesel, and he was hit by a tracer round or anything that would create a sufficient spark, the tanks could actually explode like you saw in Private Ryan. It's highly unlikely, though, in a real combat situation, because what would happen is you'd have to be hit by a tracer, plus the nitrogen bottle that is in between here is nitrogen. It's not combustible. So the only way that combustion can take place is when that fuel comes in contact with air outside the flamethrower. So being hit by a bullet wouldn't necessarily make it blow up like it does in Hollywood, but it certainly isn't something you want that to happen either. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, what you saw me firing was an M2-2 flamethrower. This was first used in our tank that you see right here. Is the high pressure vessel. That's charged to 1,700 to 2,000 pounds. And there's a regulator in between the two that drops that pressure down to 250 to 350 pounds. Today I was firing at about 250 pounds. I'm shooting diesel fuel. This is an unthickened fuel and is different from the napalm that you've seen in that this is a large flash of flame and doesn't come out in a rod and stick to the target, sort of like napalm does. This is actually more impressive for a public shoot. The napalm comes out in an orange rod and sticks on the target, not the whoosh that you saw there. I have 4.75 gallons of fuel. The entire tanks are emptied in 10 seconds. In the front of the gun, right up here at the front, this front trigger ignites one of 5 matches in the front of the gun. The rear trigger is what opens a needle valve, allowing the fuel to go out past the igniters and actually send the burning fuel to the target. It was not uncommon for flamethrower operators, if they had enough firepower to keep the enemy troops' heads down, to stand out in the open and wet the target down with unignited fuel, then hit the igniter and send a short burst, which would then ignite the fuel. This prevented a lot of the fuel from burning up on way to the target. As you see, as I said, I have 10 seconds total firing time. I have 5 matches that each burn for approximately 11 seconds. So I can go up, light one match and dump the whole tank, or do like you saw there, where I can light a match, shoot several bursts. When the match goes out, as long as I have fuel, I can hit another match and keep firing until one of 2 things happen. Either I use all 5 matches or all 10 seconds worth of fuel. Are there any questions? Yes, sir. That's a good question. Flame as a weapon was used back in ancient times. Greek fire was used back during the Greek and Peloponnesian Wars. Even the references to the Bible where they tied burning firebrands to foxes and let them go in fields to set fields on fire. The flamethrower as we know it was invented by the Germans and first used in World War I. Then in between the wars everybody developed one, the Germans, the French, the Italians, the British, except the United States. When Pearl Harbor was bombed on December 7th of 1941, we were caught with 12 experimental E1R1 flamethrowers in our entire arsenal. That was it. So the Chemical Warfare Service, which was in charge of flamethrowers, quickly developed what was called the M1 flamethrower, and subsequently the M1A. They were unreliable to the point where most troops didn't trust them. This flamethrower with the improved ignition system first was used at Guam in 1944. And although the other flamethrowers were used through most of the war, this was produced in larger numbers and is probably the more recognized flamethrower of any of the models used by the U.S. in World War II. Any other questions? Thanks for coming out today. Yes, sir.
Hey, can you go hunting with that?
No, as far as I know, the flamethrower has no sporting use.
Not sporting, huh?
You know, sir.
Yes, sir.
You know, you see some of the pictures of the Japanese where they're frozen. It kills you that fast.
Yeah, what happens is that after they're frozen, the muscles tend to tighten up. It's a physiological thing. The muscles tend to tighten up in those positions with the arms up in the air. Actually, most of the casualties caused by these were from asphyxiation. We're down in the caves. It burns up all the oxygen in the bunker and cave complex. So very few of the casualties were actually caused by coming in contact with the burning fuel. They would use what they call the blow torch and corkscrew method, where they'd use a flamethrower, then throw a satchel charge in, or a bulldozer, or both, to seal up the caves. Well, after they used the flamethrower, that used up all the oxygen, so that when they went back and exhumed the caves, they found some casualties at the front of the cave that came in contact with the flame, but 800 or more dead enemy soldiers down in the complex that simply suffocated.
And you said you collect those. You have to have a permit, or
No, actually the ATF, at least at this point, until some wacko does a crime with one, the ATF does not consider the flamethrower a weapon or a destructive device. Okay, so there's no, I do have federal licenses for other things, but right now a flamethrower is not required to have a license. They're pretty hard to find. You know, I mean, you don't go out to the local gun show and buy one anyway. They're about $10,000 for what you see here, and then cost a lot of money to maintain, constant parts and pressure tests and all kinds of things. So,
thank you.